Stephen Rollnick, thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to talk with you today. And John is going to begin with the first question.
Okay.
Steve, what surprises you most about the growth of MI over the years, and what do you attribute that growth to?
Yeah, John, it's quite a question, eh? I think it's because conversations have become so abnormal when folk try and help other folk, and abnormal and dysfunctional. And motivational interviewing is a normal and functional conversation. And I think so that's one reason. Another is because people have got, in a way, diverted into or defaulted into when they see a problem in somebody else solving it for them. And the interest in motivational interviewing is probably because they realize not only is it not that helpful to solve people's problems for them, but it actually is not so good for their well-being. So I think it's a combination of those sort of reasons, John. I hope that's clear. But you know, I think at the same time, we could have thwarted the development of motivational interviewing by being very specialist, by putting a fence around it, by charging people money to become motivational interviewing practitioners. So I suppose there's, you know, I don't want to be immodest, but I suppose that's one reason. We just decided to let it get out there freely. Yeah, no, I think that's my sense of it at the moment.
Thank you.
So I have the opportunity to ask the next question. And I've thought about this quite a bit, actually. Since motivational interviewing clearly is not a way to get people to do something that I, as the worker, may want them to do, why should people use motivational interviewing?
Yeah, it's a tricky question, that, actually. Motivational interviewing isn't a technique for getting people to do something they wouldn't otherwise want to do. Okay. Yeah. And so you're wondering, if that's the case, then why use it? And one simple answer, which is a bit smug, really, is that it's effective. Okay.
Okay.
And that is a bit smug because it suggests that other methods aren't, and I don't want to get into that. But I think there's another reason here, which is, how can I put it? You know, it's not as simple as, look, motivational interviewing gives the interviewer and the patient or client, whoever is at the receiving end, the opportunity to negotiate, okay, what sort of change is best. So you as an interviewer might have strong views about wanting someone to change something, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are plenty of examples in practice where that is a real and pressing and legitimate concern. But motivational interviewing provides the structure for you to express that concern and see if you can make progress with someone, because it highlights the importance of listening, of tuning into their aspirations, and respecting their autonomy and their choice. Okay, so if somebody with HIV, who's got HIV and the kid's got HIV, and they're not, he or she is not adhering to medication, I think it's perfectly legitimate for me as a practitioner to really want them to change, because I feel it's in their best interests. Now, that might not be quite how they see it. But motivational interviewing gives me the tools for engaging with this person, raising the subject, and making progress.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So Steve, you mentioned some of the things that you've been involved in, having conversations with Joel Porter and others in the MI and beyond. And one thing that has popped up is this conversation, along with an article that you shared from Drs. Ingersoll and Wagner about the change behavior being, is it more than just one? What my question is really about, though, is the research in general, that because of all, and I wonder if it connects to that, is there research on the horizon around that? And what do you think about the current research, or based on the history of the research, what research are you curious about happening around motivational interviewing? Or do you think we've exhausted everything?
We haven't. No, I don't think so at all. And your question's a little tricky, but look, most of the research on motivational interviewing has been done on behavior change. And I think there's at least two reasons for that. One is because it's an issue. It is an issue in all sorts of settings, whether it's education, healthcare, mental health, it's an issue. The other reason is because we defined motivational interviewing as being suited to focusing on behavior change. So the combination of the two has led to the latest count that I got from Bill Miller is 1,600 plus randomized trials, right? I don't begin to know what they're about, but if you pick out 10 at random, they're all about behavior change. Okay. Now, I think we made a mistake. And in 2009, there was a gathering of MI experts in the Mint organization, and I suggested that we loosen the definition of MI, widen the tent to suggest that MI is about change, not just behavior change. Okay. I felt at the time it was quite radical. Okay. I didn't get my head around it really, and I'm not sure anybody else really did, although that article by Wagner and Ingersoll followed soon afterwards. And I think that is a superb, if anyone wants to read it, a really superb illustration of how if you widen the focus of MI beyond behavior change to just any change, it presents fantastic possibilities for research. Now, there's a point there that I just want to emphasize, Amy, which is that we got sucked into focusing on problems, not just behavior change, but this problem, that problem, that problem. But the moment you say it's about any change, what opens up is the opportunity to talk about human growth, which is what the Wagner and Ingersoll paper is talking about. Then you're saying, motivate, not only is there very little research on that, okay, a lot of opportunities there, but you're then saying, well, then motivational interviewing could be used in a much wider range of settings and circumstances than up till now. And I'm busy writing the 4th edition of the text with Bill Miller at the moment, and I'm encouraging him, and we've agreed the tent's wide. Okay. Now, finally, I'll just add one quickie, if I may, Amy, because I know you gave me 3 minutes and I've already taken them.
I gave you 3 questions in that too. So
I know you did. It was a hell of a lot of questions. Yeah. But look, I've been wondering for years, what about using MI at home? Okay. And I've been very confused about this. Okay. I have resolved in my mind its use by teachers, and I've written a book on that, and by sports coaches, and I've written a book on that. No problem. But then why not by parents? And I've finally resolved it. Okay. And here's how I resolved it. I'm not suggesting other people should, right? Which is that if MI is about promoting growth, then at home, it's perfectly possible to use it at home, but it's best probably not to use it for behavior change. So if my daughter isn't tidying her room, right, and I want to improve room tidying behavior, I'm not going to use MI because I've got too big an investment. However, if she talks about a problem at school with friends, that's an opportunity for growth, and that's a brilliant place to use MI. So that's how I resolved it. But nobody's done any research on the use of MI at home, let alone for promoting human growth, I think. Yeah. So there's fantastic opportunity there.
Steve, as a newer practitioner to motivational interviewing and member of Mint, I'm curious what recommendations you would have for newer practitioners on things that they should focus on in order to enhance their skills and their knowledge of motivational interviewing.
It's a great question, Billy Joe. Really, it is. And the answer might be relevant to more seasoned practitioners as well. So let me just say that. My advice to them would be not to be too clever. Okay. When they're trying to have a conversation that's informed by MI, to not imagine that cleverness is going to solve this, is going to improve their skillfulness. So I a couple of years ago came up with this thing called the 6 C's. I wonder if I can remember them now, right? But the idea is to let go cleverness and clutter in your head. Okay, and I've forgotten the third one there. I'll come back to it. And take on board being calm and regulated, compassionate and curious. So you can see I'm suggesting to newcomers to pay careful attention to the way they are, their emotional regulation and what their attention is focused on. And I realized myself that I had been trying to be clever with motivational interviewing for too long, and it impeded my progress. And I'm talking about just 5 years ago, I was struggling to do quality interviews. And when I said to myself, let go cleverness, let go clutter from my head, focus with curiosity and compassion on this person. So that would, the other piece of advice I'd give is to ask yourself this question: are you able to sit with somebody and imagine that the wisdom is inside them? Okay. Because if you can't, then that's where you've got to start. There's no point in doing all the other stuff unless you have this kind of conviction. And I think it's really difficult for newcomers because you get so many ideas about motivational interviewing thrown at you by your trainer, by whatever book or whatever you read. And you do need to learn that stuff. But then when it comes to speaking to somebody, my suggestion is not to unlearn it, but just to be calm, curious, compassionate. Imagine that the solution is inside them and keep it simple. Don't make things too complicated. I'm reminded of a very famous soccer player. This side in Europe, everybody worships Johan Cruyff, right? And he said this. He said, this is soccer, right? Playing soccer is a very simple game. No, soccer is a very simple game, but playing simple soccer is very hard to do. Okay. And I think it's like that with MI. It is very simple if you can just keep it dead simple, but it does take skill to learn how to do that. I wonder if I'm answering your question, Billy Joe.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I needed to hear, Steve.
Okay, cool.